Hey, what's up, guys? Been a while since I've done one of these, so might be a bit rusty. I just wanted to talk a little bit about third culture, which was one of the big reasons why I always wanted to have a podcast. So third culture, the term started with third culture kid, which was first coined by these researchers John and Ruth Usim in the 1950s, which wanted to talk about children of Americans that were working or living abroad. So they had American kids outside of America, and so they experienced all these other cultures that wasn't originally theirs. Now, there's loads of kids like that in the world, but that was the original term. So not just Americans, just any kid that is raised outside of their home culture. Now, that's 1950s. Since then, 1984, another researcher, Norma McCade, used the term global nomad for, which is very similar to TCK, but it also takes into account of like children that move a lot or mixed children of different parents. But when I created our online magazine, thirdculture.com, with my partner, Aaron Roby, we were discussing the term. And I'd always grown up describing myself as Eurasian because my father is English, simplified, my father's English, my mother's Filipino. That's European, Asian, Eurasian. A lot of people said that, but used that term. But when I was talking with Aaron always used to say that he knows that term but never called himself that because he's New Zealand Chinese. So I asked him what term did he use, and he used to say, I call myself third culture. So when we created our site, we started discussing what does it mean to be third culture. And I feel that this is a term that the community can kind of decide. You know, it's not black and white. It's not, it's not like we issue a passport. And also, what's the intention behind it? For us, for me in particular, I always wanted a place and a community where we could discuss these kind of things, discuss basic things like are some traditions good? Some traditions should be continued, or when should they be discontinued, and who decides these kind of things? Where do you get your cultural education from? Where do you get your cultural awareness from? Especially if you travel a lot or you're exposed to different cultures, which cultures are better? When you're exposed to more and more cultures, which cultures can we learn from, which can we not? When things come up like cultural appropriation, who is the adjudicator of this? Where are the forums that discuss this? Who's the decider? And where do you go to learn more about these kind of things? When things are inappropriate or not, or a lot of hot topics these days. Now, I mean, a lot of people as well in general say that the world is getting smaller, the world's mixing, globalization is going to happen anyway. So there's no need for, a site or a place where this discussion is head at the forefront, because everyone's becoming more aware of it anyway. But it's also very easy to see that there's other types of information getting out there, especially on social media like Facebook. It's kind of information that promotes an unhealthy relationship with other cultures. So that's why we tend to see this continuance of things like racism and things like that. And it's kind of, you can kind of, if you stand back, you can kind of see how it happens. It makes a lot of sense, because as the world gets smaller, as people mix, if you're not exposed to other cultures, if you're not educated in how to deal with something new, it can feel like an invasion. It can feel like a cultural infringement, and you don't really know how you're being infringed upon. You're just seeing that suddenly people look different, act different, have different customs to what you were born and raised with, and so you have this fear and you have this anxiety and you have this desire to join something that you know. Of course, other people experience something different. Some people want to go find something new. They want to go find something that they belong to, that because they're not comfortable in what they were originally born into, which then raises questions. Like, one of my favorite examples of that I give people when discussing third culture, and especially about something like cultural appropriation, is, let's say you are this Chinese kid and your grandfather is the last practitioner of a certain style of martial arts, and you don't care. You don't care about martial arts. You don't care if you don't learn from your grandfather that this martial art is going to die out. But there's this white, blonde, Swedish kid on the other side of the world that decides to learn Mandarin, and he knows everything about your grandfather, moves to China to be able to study under him. Now, a lot of people would get upset and say that, it's some form of cultural appropriation because it's not his land, it's not his culture, it's not his style, it's not his blood. But who is more entitled to it? The guy who's willing to dedicate his life to it, or just because the guy's born into it or has like that birthright? There's no place that I know of that really has these kind of questions at the forefront of, as the reason why they're there. And that's really what I want to dedicate this channel to, which will, I hope to merge it with the website, where I just can have guests and even with you, discuss with you some things that come up, and I think just really, have a very open discussion where we don't judge each other, because sometimes it's not necessarily ignorance. It's just, let's just have an open discussion about, the more we talk, the more we have dialogue, the more that we can see what is appropriate or not. I think one major danger about Facebook and social media nowadays as well is that so many people are so quick to jump on the, I want to be appropriate, I want to do the right thing, I want to be woke, and so they might immediately jump to the defense of something that looks good. So, for example, I've been seeing this, I'll do another video on this. I saw this post on, should children dress as Moana or not, or is that cultural appropriation? And because you want to do the right thing, immediately you might jump onto it and say, yes, cultural appropriation is wrong, it's taking advantage of people that, and it's their culture. But the thing is, that is something that we really should discuss, and because I don't see it as wrong if it defends and uplifts and upholds someone else's culture, and if it exposes someone's culture and gives it a global platform and makes sure that it's respected and understood. So those are the kind of things that I want to bring up and discuss with you. If there's anything that you're interested in, please do message, comment, and we can continue doing these. So I do look forward to this. Take care.